I'm glad that I get to keep my trauma hidden for at least one more week.
Oh, it's still getting used for the social
It's
network. I don't think anybody's going to have
trauma.
any issues with that.
It's your mother's trauma.
There needs to be like a million bleeps in the story, but sure.
I picture her with one of like the things that scratches paint off.
Oh,
God.
Just in there like a janitor in a bad middle school bathroom, just scraping your semen off of the walls.
I'll actually mean it for once. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, God.
Sorry, walls. Jeez.
Wall cheese, yes.
Wall
indeed.
cheese. Oh.
Oh, man. That's how you know we've been doing this for a long time.
Good Lord.
Shane's heard it all, but I forget that not everyone knows how fucking ridiculous I
no, we
was.
know.
Yeah.
We just pretend we
It
don't.
doesn't help.
Is that where Courtney's Maytag Blue came from?
I'm now officially 30 years old, and I'm looking back being like most people would be like, I can't believe that I did that stuff. But as the person that I've grown to be, I look back, I'm like, yeah, I can totally believe that.
I think you're more like at this point, like, I can't believe I lived.
I can't believe I stopped doing this.
This didn't fall off
there is
yet.
a lot of stuff I look back on. I'm like, that could have been a really, really hairy turn that you made there. If you would have kept
Literally.
going down that path.
And speaking of hairy turns, welcome and Heil, come slingers, to
Heil.
the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm regrettably John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And I am fairly certain that this is the high water mark for this show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there like John whipping rope at the bathroom wall.
Repainting that bathroom. Just
Retexturing the walls.
even
Not
better.
repainting.
How'd you get so much
Stuccoing the
grout
walls.
in here?
Why do you have
Heard of-
popcorn ceilings in
I
your
was about to
bathroom?
make that joke.
John's plumber's cock.
If there's one thing that's remained a constant in my life is that the testosterone level's never gone down. And Shane, I feel like, is the only person who could probably relate to that, where I don't feel like there's a cap. Every time I think that I've found the max amount, I find one more way. to
Yeah,
be
every
more
time I
disgusting.
think that I'm capped out, my tits keep getting bigger. So,
Welcome
apparently,
to the TMI podcast.
still in regression. But what we typically do on this glorious show, other than imparting too much information, is we impart disinformation. We like to dredge up random esoteric topics and then we lie about them to one another. And it is a significant amount of fun. And I'm sure that you are going to be grossly entertained because this evening we're going to bring you something that I have already pre-dubbed as too Bizkit to quit.
Okay.
Ugh.
Well, I haven't talked to you guys in a long time about an actual topic.
What?
Actually, we haven't talked to you.
Sure. But tonight I have, or today, whenever you're listening, I have 3 lies here.
Tomorrow, I have.
Don't start playing that game. Wherever you are, whenever you are. We hope you're enjoying the podcast day or night, evening or breakfast.
I'm
We're
sure
like
no matter
eggs,
where
we're
Michael
just-
is listening,
On
it's
the
fine.
toilet, in the car.
Or Steven.
Or both. Or both.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Toilet
sitting on
car.
the toilet, do me a favor. Just take your phone and throw it right at the wall.
It'll
Knock
stick.
off. Yeah.
Oh.
Just like when they used to throw the, what's the appropriate
Jesus.
word? Here we go.
Yeah, let's play the
no.
gymnastics here.
When they used to do the dwarf tosses and have folks stick
Are
to
you
the
talking
neoprene
like
walls.
Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan
Yes.
Belfort with a
Mhm.
dartboard? Jesus.
Exactly. Yep.
So, 3 lies. When the weekend of July 29th, 2021 arrived and Lollapalooza began, I don't think people were prepared to ask themselves the question, is there a neo-new metal revival upon us?
Bullshit.
Neo
No.
new metal.
I was
That
prepared.
is actually a
That's
term.
new.
Yeah, I'd
that
rather
new-
have the new
that
new.
new.
Ah, that new.
But as Limp
Why does it
Bizkit
sound
took
like-
the stage on July 31st and Fred Durst walked out with his new dad
New-new.
vibe look, yes, you could feel the familiar anxiety of this is either going to be a train wreck or an insane amount of fun. Now, I know that taste is subjective, but I personally think Limp's set was oddly inspiring. I've mentioned it earlier. I feel like it was a big comeback moment for them that no one was prepared for, and the internet seems to mostly agree with me on this.
Is this like a Courtney comeback, though?
Jesus Christ. What,
It's the new comeback.
Apparently, that joke, since John has never listened to one of our episodes, he doesn't remember that.
Oh, I
but
remember it. I was just
Courtney's
trying to get
cringing
it.
for
I was just
everybody.
trying to just drive right through it.
I'm really so glad that I could end my career on this show on a John episode.
Yep. It's good to have
It's
you.
We
been
all
good having
do.
you.
We all do.
Yes.
One of my sources for today's episode put it very well, and that was, if nothing else, a band that was popular before viral was a thing is having its first viral moment.
What? Before viral
as far as
was
like
a
viral
thing?
media, yeah, because they're
not talking about the pandemic, Michael. Calm down.
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, then hear me out then, because today we are going to talk about who is Limp Bizkit and what is a Fred Durst.
Oh, what? You mean new? Who the new?
Man, you are bleeding that joke dry, and it was
I want it
really,
to be done so that we
it
don't have
wasn't
to deal
moist
with it.
to begin with.
Moist.
For
That
starters,
word gets me every
Michael, and this is the reason I wanted to talk about this. We got to understand something very clearly, and Finn McKenty of the Punk Rock MBA put it very well. He said, I believe Fred Durst is actually a very intelligent, analytical guy who chose to play the part of that red hat and knucklehead bro in Limp Bizkit, just the same way as Tom Hardy played the part of Venom in Spider-Man. And I know that he fucked up the reference because Tom Hardy was in Venom, a standalone feature, but regardless, I linked the episode that he has on this entitled We Need to Talk About Fred Durst, and he expands on this concept a lot. But the general point, not to be too plain, comes down to Fred Durst, in as far as it goes to Limp Bizkit, being more performance art, where he's very self-aware of the things that he's doing for the sake of this generic band.
He is. He's talking with his hands.
We all do it. I
It's
mean,
spreading. I love
My
it.
whole body is basically in the shot, so
Hot.
it's hard for you not to see this. Yeah.
nice Margot shirt, by the way.
Thank you. I'm very proud of this one. I made it myself.
Just don't start playing with your feet while you're talking again, because
Oh,
I
that
can't
weird
gollum
episode where
my
I was
way
like
through
fucking
this podcast.
super high the entire time.
Oh,
no.
I was basically jacking off on the couch.
So he admitted it.
Yeah.
Finally.
Oh my god.
So let's talk about Limp Bizkit.
I thought you were gonna say let's talk about feet. You even said let's talk about Limp Bizkit. You had that the F sound going in there.
Oh yeah.
I was
Now-
ready.
Let's not get in together now, please.
The band's been nominated for 3 Grammy Awards, sold 40
Bullshit.
million records. No, that's actually
What?
I
fact.
just calling bullshit on
The
reality
Grammys.
that
So the
allows
thing-
that to happen.
I'm going to have to like fuck my script up a little bit, but the thing is that I originally wanted to do this episode mainly on Fred Durst exclusively, but then when I looked at Limp Bizkit's history, it's far more entertaining, at least to me, and I hope you guys agree. Because there are so many anecdotals where it's like, that can't be real. This can't be real life. And it was. The 90s was a fucking wild time.
True that.
And the early aughts.
I was like, they were more. It feels like me. They were an early aughts band,
Right.
but
Yeah, so they did win 3 Grammy Awards. They sold 40 million records plus worldwide and other awards. They were one of the pioneers of the genre affectionately known as nu metal. Not neo-nu, but just nu metal. And nu metal itself had kicked off properly by the band. Shane can guess it, maybe.
I don't want to talk about it.
Korn on their 1994 debut. Nu metal, for those not familiar, is a fusion of genres ranging from jazz and hip-hop all the way to death metal. They typically take the best of metal or the worst of metal and the best or the worst of hip-hop and try and blend them together. Not to put too fine a point
I
on
was
it.
going
You
to
could
say,
have-
where did jazz factor into that? I would like to know who you're citing as a source for jazz.
Yeah.
you can see the show notes.
Because there are some folks that do make very bizarre shaped chords, and I will go with that. But it's like the genre was almost defined by people playing 7-string guitars and just
Well-
drone beating everybody into submission.
Well, I would make an argument that System of a Down has very jazzy aspects to them. There are jazz elements present. Doesn't mean the whole song has to be like, look at this jazz nu metal song, but there can be jazz present, just like we're not a jazz band, but there are jazz elements present in our music.
Name them.
Name 5.
Vertigo's Polyrhythm Breakdown, that's very jazzy. In principle.
Okay, we're gonna split hairs here.
But so that's what I was going to say is that if we wanted to talk about nu metal, that would be a whole different episode, and you could cover easily 3 hours plus on just the genre and the subgenres, but that's not really what we're here for.
Thank
What?
So
Christ.
I was gonna oversimplify and say it was a very 90s into the early aughts thing that kind of died off. But I will say that it inspired a lot of bands into present day.
Like
So with like what?
who? Can you name 5?
Damn the weather,
Wow, you can fucking...
according to John.
Well, I mean, technically, Cold is technically new metal, and that's an inspiration of Shane's in one shape
In
or
many
another.
ways, yeah. Mhm.
Even though it's a moped band of mine, Stained is an influence of mine. So there's 2. Korn has influenced. I can't even name how many bands. You can name Dead,
I think-
Slipknot. Oh, go ahead.
I think what Michael was saying is we needed to name 5 current bands who
are influenced by new
display
metal?
an
Yeah,
influence of,
yeah.
of new
Like
metal.
new metal is its own genre. You could easily pull out of a hat like some major names that are associated with that genre.
If
I'm-
you authentically want a band that was inspired by new metal and it's very present, look up the current band called Talla, Tallah. They are basically what Slipknot was in '99. Present day though, they are fucking wild.
Okay.
Notably, they did a cover of Genie's song in Aladdin.
Friend like me.
Yes, they did a cover of that in their style, and it's fucking incredible.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, back
Word. You don't have to take my word for it.
to. I mean, it's Asher approved, which means everyone should like it, right?
I'm not sure that carries the carte blanche we assume, but sure.
Well, back to Limp Bizkit. The lineup has changed multiple times since their start in Jacksonville in 1994. But the key players have always been Fred Durst as the frontman, Wes Borland most of the time as the guitar player, John Otto on the drums, and Sam Rivers on the bass. Additionally, they did add DJ Lethal, originally from House of Pain, on the turntables. Turntables is also a very big proponent to that classic nu metal sound. It was hard to get away from scratching records on those tracks. But why
This
the
is
name?
Another Linkin Park fan here.
Linkin Park
was
is
gonna
actually
say.
nu metal as well.
Yeah. 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 I would definitely agree.
Durst has been quoted saying about the name that the name is there to turn people's heads away. A lot of people pick up the disc and go, Limp Bizkit, oh, they must suck. Those are
And
the
they
people that
wouldn't be wrong.
Those are the people that we don't even want listening to our music.
That
Now,
sounded
given what-
pretentious as fuck.
Given what you subjected me to on Sunday, I love that he's going to point his nose up at people.
I
But,
know.
I'm waiting for that to get unveiled. I'm sure
Do you
you're...
guys want to hear other names that almost made the cut?
Yeah,
Oh,
of course.
please.
Sure.
Gimp Disco, Split Dick Slit,
No.
That's
Yes.
better.
Bitch Piglet, and Blood Fart.
Oh God, I can't choose between bitch
Yeah, they're
piglet
definitely
or
from
blood
Florida.
fart.
That's
That's,
not a lie.
that's Jacksonville as fuck.
Please tell me blood fart's a lie.
They are all real.
Oh,
That's what I was saying. As soon as I got to that, I think is when I was like, "Fuck Fred Durst." I was like, we're just
also,
talking
as
about Limp Bizkit.
evidenced by how painfully inept he is, all of these are still intended to rhyme, other than blood fart.
I am personally
They
a
all
fan.
bear a striking resemblance to one another.
I really like the imagery of bitch piglet.
I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
So Limp Bizkit in Jacksonville were underground darlings. Thanks very much to Durst and his word of mouth marketing. Because keep in mind, this is the early to mid '90s, and there wasn't social media to do this. So he was basically going door to door, just being like, "Listen to my fucking stupid band. We're called Limp Bizkit. Isn't that funny?"
I was
They
actually
quick-
just sorry, not to interrupt. I was
Oh.
just listening to Jacob Dylan had an interview on Rogan because I occasionally just weird musicianship
Yeah.
catches me. And he was saying the same things like, if you consider like the 80s and 90s, a lot of musicians are weird people and they don't have friends. So you're trying to talk disinterested folks into coming and seeing a band that they don't care about in the first place. It's like you have to be a really marvelous salesman in
yeah,
order to have gotten over pre-social media.
Well, we're in social media times now, but I don't know if you remember back when we had our original lineup of our band, Shane, but we were leading up to our debut show at Crescent Ballroom. And I remember one evening where it was me and two members that aren't in the band anymore. We were going to Marquee Theater to wait for a show to let out and hand out flyers for the show. Even though the show was free, like we were waiting to go there. Like that's what you had to do.
Yep.
When I was 16, we would go to the mall and you just walk around the mall, flyers to your show, and you just trying to hand them to people.
Or worse, the dicks that go around and put things on the windshields of people's
I would
cars.
never do that. God, it's so
which
fucking
disgusts me. But
Oh,
anyway, sorry
likewise.
for the digression, but it's important to
No.
at least contextualize when these folks rose to prominence, which is kind of important because there were a lot of hurdles back then.
This is why I thought it would be fun, and not just because I've been listening to a lot of No Dogs in Space on the LPN network, but like bands' histories inherently fascinate me because I want to know like why you got big, like why this was even a thing for you, or just like Shane had an idea for a podcast back in the day called Green Room, I think, right?
Green Rumors.
Green Rumors, where you
Mhm.
just interview touring bands as they're passing through and like get their wildest tour stories. But anywho, so Limp Bizkit quickly went from playing small shows to 10 people at best to 800 people in a matter of months, thanks again to Fred Durst and his marketing. Yeah, even bands like Stained opened up for them before Limp was even signed in the Jacksonville scene. To continue their growth, they realized as a band that they'd have to up the ante, so Wes Borland, their guitar player, started dressing up in costumes, putting in funny contacts. If you look up pictures of Wes Borland, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The cover, though, is what really got them attention because they realized as well that they needed to engage a first-time listener, and the best way to do that is to play a song they know. So they did a cover of George Michael's Faith in their own styling. I know Shane's probably heard it against his wishes.
On many occasions, yes, sadly.
Yeah. So, but it was effective, and I honestly think it's a really fun cover. Just the same way that Tala doing the Aladdin cover is brilliant.
Well, and they also are one of the folks is like, it's a really great gimmick. It's a wonderful place to start because Alien Ant Farm doing, a Michael
Smooth
Jackson
Criminal.
cover, same thing. We've all sat around listening to the, Hey Ya cover from time to time for the local favorite here with Obadiah Parker,
Obadiah, yeah.
It's so good.
It is so good. It aged beautifully.
which was what made me steal from Tool later on. So, everybody kind of runs in the same vein in a different way, shape, or form. Just adapt something to your own tastes.
Right. And next in this time, Durst was calling A&R representatives pretending to be a manager of Limp Bizkit, like from a different company, trying to get him signed.
I'd love to hear how he masks his voice.
I don't.
I was waiting for you to try.
Oh, I wasn't even going to try.
Your Durst is so spot on, so I would love to hear how he would try to make himself sound different.
Yeah, this is... Hey, this is Durst.
This is Chet Stanley.
This is Chet Stanley. I know this really okay band.
They're called
but
Bitch
in this-
Piglet.
it's called Dick Slit.
Split dick slit.
What really got them on though with the cover, Korn was touring through Jacksonville, and Durst was a tattoo artist, or at least that's what I think the impression is. Some of the material is a little weird to get through because no one's saying definitively what he was doing at the time.
Yeah, not a lot of folks are running around being your biographer when you're
Right, but
20.
I think at this time he was a tattoo artist in some way, shape, or form. Korn is coming through town. He somehow convinced most of Korn to come back to his place after the show, probably being like, "Yo, you can crash here. You're on tour, or whatever. Yeah, give you a sloppy blow, Jay." And he convinced the bass player Fieldy to listen to some early demos that would later go onto the first record. Fieldy loved the shit and almost immediately talked to the band and got Limp Bizkit added on to the next two tours that Korn did, which is what really, really gathered them more attention and got them their first record deal, which leads us to their first release, which is one of 6, although 7 might be on the way. But they released their first album in 1997. However, it didn't immediately launch off. In fact, it took a little bit of old scummy music business tricks to kind of get it to gain traction. And the tactic is called payola, and I don't know if you all are familiar with that or not.
Nope.
So essentially the music or the record company is going to pay radio stations a fixed amount to play the record company's artist a certain amount of times per hour, per day, what have you, in markets that they choose. So it's essentially boiled down to a fine point. It's pay to play.
Yes, the reason why you heard things in such gross repetition back in the day was because they were under the table obligated to ensure that that song kept floating back up in the rotation on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this did leave a bad taste in the band's mouth. They didn't really like that was the tactic that was used, but if it worked, it worked, so they just accepted it.
It's much like hot dog flavored water, you would say?
Oh, you just wait. You just wait. Whether or not they liked it, it didn't stop it from skyrocketing their career, because the cover of Faith gained a lot of traction and changed the game for them. So on June 22nd, 1999, they released their sophomore album, Significant Other, which climbed to number 1 on the Billboard 200 list, selling 643,874 copies in its first week. Notable songs on this record being Nookie, and who could forget Break Stuff.
Was that number a lie?
We've all heard Break Stuff, right?
Probably. But was that
No.
number a lie?
No.
Oh, okay.
There is a number lie, I think.
God damn it.
Break Stuff, the song notorious for being the inciting incident for Woodstock going off the rails, right?
Yep. You're absolutely correct. That's later on as well.
Bless them.
However, the band continued to be criticized by the media. An article profiling the band in Spin and discussing significant... am I Michael?
Whoa.
Happens to the best of us,
An
friend.
article profiling the band in Spin and discussing Significant Other claimed that Limp Bizkit had yet to write a good song, and musicians Marilyn Manson, who, let's be real, is a literal piece of shit fucking monster, so who cares what he thinks, and Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails criticized the band. But I wanted the work to kind of speak for itself, so I've included a little excerpt from a song that Shane got familiar with on Sunday.
Ooh, God.
So I just want you to listen to the lyrics of this song from Significant Other, the lyrics from the song "No Sex," and you tell me whether or not they're good or bad.
Oh, okay.
Brace for impact, friends, because this is going to hurt.
Went too fast, way too soon. I feel disgusted, and you should too.
Mhm.
Same.
It's no good when all that's left is the sex. The sex. Sex has become all I know about you. Memory of those filthy things that we do. There's not one single thought that's left after sex with you. And here's the hook.
You know what's funny is that this sounds very Seussian, the way you're reading it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you could fuck me with a fox, you could fuck me in a box.
Should have left my pants on this time, but instead you had to let me dive right in. Should have left my pants on this time. You let me dive right. You let me dive right in.
Oh,
Wait.
I was hoping he was going to say left.
It's my ass
Whoa.
and your perfume that make temptation hard to refuse. So I guess we undress to have sex. Dirty sex.
You know,
I
don't
picture
know.
that he just is getting dressed one day and he sees perfume and he looks at a mirror and he looks at his ass and he's like, I'm good to go. Let's do it.
I arouse myself.
I arouse myself.
Hey, that's where the chocolate starfish came in.
We're going to get there, but Courtney, you were saying?
Oh, I don't know how I feel about you reading Jonah's wedding vows to me on the show, actually.
How'd your
If that
parents
was
take
really
it?
his wedding vows, I would quit the show right now. But moving on. Following the success of their debut, they released Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water on October 17th, 2000.
That's a real thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
prior to its
Oh,
release.
you poor sweet summer
Yes.
child.
Prior to its release, when the
I don't
press
want
was
it.
when the press was told the name, they thought truly that it was a joke, that it was just a misleading name so that they could surprise drop what the actual title was, but they were sorely mistaken, and I have the answers for you guys on why they named the album. that.
Okay, well, I look
Oh,
forward to
boy.
this because obviously a band named, Dick's Pig Tits is obviously going to give you something seriously strained.
Right. So apparently the chocolate starfish part was supposed to be like tongue-in-cheek, like a wink to the press of like, yes, everyone thinks that I'm an asshole, Fred Durst. And then the second half, the hot dog flavored water, the band had stopped at a truck stop, and looking at bottles of flavored water, Wes Borland joked that the truck stop didn't have hot dog or meat flavored water. So they just mashed the two together.
Okay.
I just don't understand why men think some things are funny.
I mean, this podcast
I don't think
is
anyone
evidence
understands.
of this.
I don't particularly think that the name of the album is good, but I do have a friend in my circle that probably would make the same fucking joke at a truck stop. You know, the same guy
You
who
leave
taught
Sam
me how
out
funny
of this.
poop is. Yeah, yeah, fucking Cheeto fingers. Yeah, Miss fucking piss donuts herself.
Mac and Cheetos, yes. Is the justification for calling it chocolate starfish a lie? Is
No.
it Durst? Okay, so he is self-aware.
Yes.
Oh,
so that's
no.
again the Finn McKenty.
Okay,
of, like,
all right.
it's performance. Like he knows he's the bad guy. There's a lot of talk on the on his episode. We need to talk about Fred Durst, where he's talking about how Fred Durst was like one of the first people prior to this being a thing that had features on his records. Every single Limp Bizkit record from Significant Other onwards has prominent features on it. Bigger names like Jonathan Davis of Korn is on Significant Other.
Method
Help me,
Man,
Shane's,
Redman,
yeah, dude from Stone Temple Pilots is on
Scott
Chocolate Star-
Weiland.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's on Chocolate Starfish. Snoop Dogg is on one of their records as well. Like he does these
Snoop Dogg
things.
will
Like,
do anything. He'll just jam with anyone.
but he won't do that.
He's my favorite murderer.
What?
Fair. Yeah.
And
don't know
then
that
I got
Snoop
my
Dogg
gap.
killed someone?
Well, I mean, I guess you could presume, but
I mean, he did go to trial. Murder was the case that they gave him.
okay, yeah. Consider me disinformed. He said it.
Title drop.
So,
Oh.
goofy ass name or not, Starfish was the album of Limp Bizkit's career. It went platinum in its first week, going on to sell over 13 million copies. Prior to this, no rock album had gone platinum in its first week. Nothing that came before or after, however, would come close to the success of this album. Fun Snapple fact, Shane's going to know this, and in fact, some of this is just me, telling fun things to Shane that he's going to go, I remember this, is when Mission Impossible 2 came out. Take a Look Around is the name of the song that's on the soundtrack and also on the record, and it is like the Mission Impossible 2 theme.
Yes, it's
It also
technically
has-
the Mission Impossible theme with him playing, that exact line.
Now I know why you want to hate me.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds
indeed.
like, and he says that 17,000 fucking times.
Yeah.
Also, quick plug to our Guilty Pleasure playlist because, one, Limp Bizkit's Nookie's featured on it, and two, this is all just Guilty Pleasure shit.
Without question, yes. And that is one of the few Limp Bizkit songs I actually did
It
not absolutely
fucks.
despise when I heard it, because I was like, okay, I can roll with this. That is such a bizarre soundtrack in and of itself as well.
It
Like
really is.
I still have
All
it
over
sitting
the
on the
place.
shelf, so I can read you the track listing.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is bizarre.
So on Starfish itself, other singles that you might know as My Generation, My Way, and of course, Rollin', 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 Rollin'.
Parenthetical, air raid vehicle.
Which on the record is split into two parts because the original is earlier on in the track listing, and later on they do like a remix that has DMX and somebody else on it. But also, Courtney, you know none of these songs, do you?
No.
And you're all the better for it.
You've
I'm very
escaped
envious of
scot-free.
you. So this must sound even more ridiculous to you.
Yes.
So you haven't even seen the dance anywhere.
What dance?
Okay, there is a dance with this music video, so that is a reaction that I'm sure that you're going to look forward to having at some point. In the
Yes.
music video, they have a bunch of young ladies who are dressed as Fred Durst with the backwards cap and all,
Oh, God.
acting
Yeah,
like
'cause-
they're driving a big rig, basically, with their hands, and it's
His
abhorrent.
signature look.
Okay.
His signature look, Courtney, was a backwards red hat. And
Okay.
that was his persona. So in some of the music videos, like Shane's saying, the joke would be to look like Fred Durst. Again, not to jerk off Finn McKenty too much here,
Too late.
but that was another thing that he brought up where Durst was very intelligent. This is a reason that he was smart, is because he made himself a brand before making yourself a brand was really a thing in the genre itself. But since we had Trent Reznor mentioned earlier, and we're still talking about Starfish, the opening track entitled Hot Dog is pretty notable. Namely because it's just a huge troll of a song that kicks off the record. The word fuck is used 49 times intentionally, and the chorus is a parody of Nine Inch Nails' Closer. DJ Lethal even used samples of the song in the song.
Did they really say fuck 49 times?
They did, and I'm glad you asked because I included an excerpt of some of the lyrics here.
He was
Now
just waiting. He was waiting.
I'm over here like standing in the bushes of love for 49 times.
Ain't life a bitch?
Yeah.
A fucked up bitch?
True.
A fucked up sore with a
Mhm.
fucked up stitch?
Ooh.
A fucked up head?
Uh-huh.
It's a fucked up shame.
Get it.
Damn.
Swinging on my nuts is a fucked up game.
No.
Get it.
Jealousy filling up a fucked up mind.
Yeah.
It's real fucked up, like a fucked up crime.
Ooh.
If I
Michael,
say fuck,
I never want you to be a hype man, ever.
Yeah. Tell it.
No.
Get it.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
if I say fuck 2 more times, that's 46 fucks in this fucked up rhyme. And then he goes on to say fuck a few more times being
It
Italian.
sounded
before
like
he-
Dr. Seuss. Now I can't get that out of my head.
Are you trying to insult or compliment Fred Durst's excellent lyric writing?
Yes.
Both and neither at the same time.
But we're gonna speed up. We're gonna get off of Starfish and continue.
We're gonna roll
but-
onto the.
We're gonna keep rolling through their history.
If I had a
Because
nickel
it's-
for every time we got off on Starfish.
I'd have
Damn.
2
At
nickels.
least it's not jellyfish.
Yeah,
Be on it.
you're not lying.
Well, see, and there we go. We're hearkening back to John's kinks and Lost all in one fell swoop because I just got the Hurley stepping on the little pufferfish thing
Oh,
and
I
be like,
love
you gotta
him."
pee on it.
Funnily enough, this has been happening since we've been doing the show, especially lately, where someone or an outside thing reminds me or calls back to a topic that we've already covered. I had a coworker come up to me in the past couple of weeks, and they're like, "Do you ever think that we're living like?" Not a simulation, but like, I was like, you mean, do I ever wonder if we're living in a simulation? Absolutely, I do. And then I got to bore him with that topic. For a
Did you
second.
also recommend a podcast that he can listen to?
No, I don't think he would.
No,
find
'cause he
it.
likes
you
this
all
person.
have the opportunity to organically show your own show to people.
The thing is, I don't hide the fact. I'm like,
Shame.
yeah, every Wednesdays, me and my friends, we record a podcast. And if they follow up, I tell them what it is. And if they don't, then I don't, burden them with the knowledge.
See, I can't tell my coworkers because, other than Steven telling everybody, they're all impressionable youths and I don't want them to hear this. Sorry, Brian, for your catching up because I
Hey,
do
Brian,
have several
how ya?
students that listen and make a point of pointing that out to me where I'm like, oh no, I said things.
Oh no.
You're like,
Oh.
oh, fuck, there's receipts.
All right, well,
Left a
I
paper
appreciate
trail.
I'm glad you like me enough not to turn me in, kids. So
Thank you. After Chocolate Starfish, like I've mentioned before, they didn't really have any hit albums. Nothing kind of even got close to the numbers that they were used to. Whether it was because of hiatuses or just time rolling on, no pun intended.
Rolling.
law of diminishing returns, yes.
Exactly. They went on to release 3 more albums so far, entitled Results May Vary, The Unquestionable Truth, Part 1, and Gold Cobra. All were released to mixed reviews, never, again, quite selling close to their earlier success. Members left, mainly Wes Borland has a really will they, won't they vibe in this band, where he's quit like 14 fucking times.
Because
to the
he's
point...
the talented one.
Well, it's funny that you say
Oof.
that because I was going through every record and listening to it front to back just so I could have this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to Results May Vary, which is the follow-up to Chocolate Starfish, Wes Borland left, and the only album he's not on is Results May Vary, and you can tell. Results May Vary is bland and fucking boring, and that's saying a lot, depending on what your opinion already on Limp Bizkit is. Limp Bizkit is not a band to enjoy in long bursts. It's like throwing on Nookie at a party to sarcastically bounce around with your friends and then be like, I actually really like how this song structure is. Anywho.
Well,
Song structure. Ooh.
I've actually made a point, and I think you and I had this conversation on many occasions, saying I don't disparage Fred Durst wholly out of spite because I wouldn't have had Cold if it were not for Fred Durst specifically. I mean, I'm sure they would have gotten signed in some form or fashion, but since he is the one who spearheaded them out into the general public,
Yeah.
I thank him for that in a lot of respects. And so there are aspects of Fred Durst, particularly his business acumen, that I really do appreciate. It's just the music and I weren't always. The man rhymes words with the same word.
Oh,
so I have trouble clearing it. But
it
you know,
doesn't
Borland's
get
great.
better either.
No.
But for what you're saying, like if you look at Wes Borland's career as a guitar player in and out of Limp Bizkit, the man writes super catchy shit, and he's like a very lovable goofball, as evident by, you know, the hot dog flavored water comment, and like
Right.
he's a wacky guy, but a fun wacky. And I know that I'm saying this now, and I really haven't looked up more into his life, so he's probably a fucking monster because that just seems to be the trend.
I mean, aren't we all? But you know, strangely enough, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, was he the progenitor of the, I mean, granted, we have Kiss and a lot of other things that predate this, but in the nu metal movement, a lot of folks point to Slipknot as being the band that sort of galvanized the let's sell our aesthetic as our gimmick. But I think Bizkit was out before Slipknot was. So
Yeah,
Borland kind of is the new, you know, tip of the spear for I look weird and gimmicky on stage, and that's part of our selling point. And then a lot of other folks follow suit. I think Mudvayne, but I mean, a lot of folks point to correct. So I mean, a lot of folks really point Slipknot because the whole band was a gimmick. But Borland stands out in every photograph you ever see of that band circa the late 90s. The man is basically just screaming at you out of any photograph. So it's an interesting concept.
It's what grabbed me when I was searching on YouTube for Limp Bizkit live videos, which how this whole episode even came to be, like months and months back, is when I'm up late, like at a certain point I don't want to watch anything, like I want to go to bed soon but not too soon, so I'll like find live music videos just because it's something that brings me happiness at night. And one of the thumbnails, I like watching like these kind of bands perform in their prime, so I'll search Limp Bizkit live 96, like just random years to see if there's pro shots or like board bounces
or DVD stuff. And
and one of the thumbnails was of Wes Borland looking like a fucking demon, and I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah. You know, you just triggered another, granted he's the son of Bob Dylan, so you would assume he's quotable, but Jacob Dylan off the cuff just threw out a random, he's like, oh yeah, there's no drug like nostalgia. Which was like, oh dear God, that's pretty profound. So yeah, to that point.
Yeah, and I've said recently, and Becky called my shit out like only your partner can, where I was on a rant. I was like, fuck nostalgia. Nostalgia is the death of creativity. Fuck anyone who like buys into this, like, we remade a movie, blah 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 blah. But then all it took was Dead Space getting a PS5 remake for me. Like, I can't wait for this game. And she goes, oh, so it's okay when it's something that you enjoy. And I was like, fuck, you're right. So I agree. I still think what I think, but I'm aware of the problem.
This is you cycling out of your 20s and into your 30s, my friend. As someone who's cycling out of my 30s into my 40s, yeah, you start to change some of those hard lines that you felt for so long, and now you're like, oh man, I was just a blowhard asshole.
I mean, always.
Welcome to my world. I very frequently, even in earlier episodes of this show, I look back, it's like, just shut up already, you bastard.
But with all the success that Limp Bizkit had, you'd be correct if you were to assume that they had their fair amount of controversy, and you would be even more correct if you assumed the majority of that controversy was surrounding Fred Durst. And rightfully so. I don't want this to, and I know it's kind of felt like it so far, I don't want it to feel like John jacks off Fred Durst for an hour and some change on the amazing things that he's done, because Fred Durst was labeled appropriately an asshole. He's done a lot of really bad things, and he's said a lot of very hurtful things. Whether or not you think it's performance art, I don't think it's an excuse. I don't feel like you get to say what you want. Just be like, it was an act. It's like, that's not how that works.
John, this is how we learn, and this is how we burn.
Thank you. So here's some examples of the dumb stuff that he's done. He's a real knucklehead.
Stupid.
So he was arrested.
Coming this fall, the TNT.
Fred Durst once was arrested for kicking a security guard in the head during a performance, and there's no, they don't really elaborate more. So in my head, all I see is him just like, punting. just,
At least it's not the Marilyn Manson, let me rest my testicles on the top of your head.
I also heard a story about Manson where he would run out to the front of house soundboard and just put his arm across the soundboard and just fucking wreck the whole mix. And
it's the only way he's gonna sound decent.
I know. On one of their first tours, they were with Faith No More, and the keyboardist from Faith No More recalled his time with Limp Bizkit on tour.
That is such a weird combination.
I really agree. That guy Fred Durst had a really bad attitude. He was kind of a jerk. I remember he called the audience members, insert a really bad derogatory word for being gay, at one show when they booed him. Not a good scene. On a larger scale, and this one was hard not to do a whole episode on, and Shane jumped to it almost
I
immediately.
Often do, yeah.
Were the events that did happen at Woodstock 99. And to keep this short, HBO has recently released a documentary called Woodstock 99 where you can see it all. But although from what I've read, it's very, very biased and skewed to kind of blow some things further up and not really have counter opinions.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet, so I can't really speak to it. But essentially, when Limp Bizkit was performing during the festival to over 200,000 people, things got violent. During Break Stuff, fans were tearing plywood from the walls, surfing on doors, setting things on fire. Sadly, sexual assaults were reported during their set. During the set, and I think this is before Break Stuff, Durst had told the crowd, "People are getting hurt, but don't let anybody get hurt. But I don't think you should mellow out. That's what Alanis Morissette had you motherfuckers do. If someone falls, pick them up. We already let the negative energy out. Now we want to let out the positive energy."
Hey,
later,
guys,
go ahead.
stop, please.
He's
I guess, probably.
trying to get into the Woodstock spirit of peace and love, but
Yes.
you missed the
maybe-
mark a little.
Maybe
He
you
later
guys shouldn't
stated-
be punching each other in the face. Just
Can
punch yourself. Maybe
Well,
a little
Please
shoving.
Stop surfing on top of broken doors. This isn't fucking Titanic.
Your heart won't go on. The
I want
problem
your
with
heart
this,
to roll.
like to contextualize though, for those who have no idea what it was kind of an inciting thing. This was a very overly corporatized presentation compared to the
Yes.
original, which I mean was also terribly poorly planned. But they were selling, like they ran out of bottled water or something and then started to jack up the prices on it, and it was already outrageously like $12 for a bottle of water to begin with.
Ugh.
And so people
Right.
were constantly being taxed for almost everything that took place at the festival. So folks were basically just a powder keg waiting for a
Oh, yeah.
spark, and along comes Limp Bizkit.
And for further context, this is 1999. This is when they're touring to support their breakthrough album, Significant Other, the one with Nookie and Break Stuff on it. Like, they were an attraction at this time. They weren't a boy band, but Fred Durst had the attention of a boy band level celebrity.
Yeah.
So people wanted to hear what he was saying. So he stated later in an interview, "I didn't see anybody getting hurt. You don't see that. When you're looking out on a sea of people and the stage is 20 feet in the air and you're performing and you're feeling your music, how do they expect us to see something bad going on?"
Oh my god.
I like your affectation for the word Hoyt.
What?
It tickles me immensely.
What did I say?
Hurt.
Instead of hurt
Hoyt.
is
Yeah.
Hoyt.
Hurt.
You've got a weird like crossbreed between Fred Durst and Harley Quinn, and it's
Yeah,
adorable,
Yeah.
and I
It's
love
not
it to
perfect.
death. No, it doesn't need. None of mine are perfect either. That's what makes it fun. You got your hook though.
Moving on, so sadly, during a 2001 tour of Australia at the Big Day Out Festival in Sydney, fans rushed the stage in the mosh pit, and teenager Jessica Mikulik died of asphyxiation. In Auckland, New Zealand, on the same tour, Durst threw water over the head of a security personnel tasked with diffusing a similar situation. During the Big Day Out crush, Durst has been accused of taunting security guards intervening in the situation. In court, Durst, represented by his long-term attorney, testified that he had warned the concert organizers,
Ooh.
organizers, Michael, of the potential dangers of having minimal security. However, after viewing video and hearing witness testimony, the coroner said it was evident that the density of the crowd was dangerous at the time Limp Bizkit took the stage, and Durst should have acted more responsibly when the problem became apparent. Durst stated that he was emotionally scarred because of the teenager's death. So this one he actually does mention a few more times in his life, even up till today. Like, this was a very, just a sad moment in general, because that's not what, no one wants that to happen. But also as a performer, like, I don't know how I would even be able to bear with that. There's similar stories, like, I know at least two of you aren't, but like Lamb of God had a similar thing happen with Randy Blythe, where I think it was in Russia they were playing, and someone brutally died during one of their shows, to the point where the next time that Limp Bizkit, the next time that Lamb of God set foot in Russia, Randy Blythe was arrested, and there was a whole big deal on getting him out of Russian prison for the murder. Like, he had to go to a murder trial in Russia for someone dying at his show. It was fucking. There's a documentary on it. It's fucking crazy.
It was murder.
Yeah, and out of murder. In 2000, at the MTV Music Awards, Durst performed his song "Living It Up" as a duet with Britney Spears. In response to the performance, Filter frontman was quoted as saying, "Fred getting on stage with Spears embarrassed us all." In response to the negative remarks, Durst remarked, "I already done told you guys before, I did it all for the nookie, man." In response to Durst's remarks, Spears commented, "He got no nookie."
Now, okay, was Richard Patrick actually the one who threw that quote?
Yes.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
man.
It was Mr. Richard himself.
Mr. Self-gratification on an airplane.
I didn't know that.
Oh, really? You're not familiar that that's what that song was about?
Take my picture?
Uh-huh.
No, did I actually nail it? Is that the song?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
about him jacking off on an airplane?
It's about him being so intoxicated that he stripped down, hence why I feel like a newborn. Do you want to take my picture?
Because I won't remember?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
I was
he
like...
stripped naked in an airplane after being intoxicated and may or may not have indulged himself a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I can't say I'm going to look that up, but I'm going to take you at face value on that one.
I might have to just re-listen to that song.
Please do, because yes, there's an entirely different context put on it, or subtext, I should say, when you know what the actual incident was.
I won't remember.
Hey, Dad, what do you think about your son now? Sorry, this is now spiraling into a whole other episode on itself, but yeah, go look it up. It's a lot of fun.
So we're basically caught up, as you can tell, on Limp Bizkit's history, but a through line of their band from 94 to present day, funnily enough, was Durst's aspirations outside of the band. Shane, you've made a mention to his business acumen. So shortly after being signed in 94, he got hired as senior vice president of A&R at Interscope. And that's not bullshit, just to get ahead of it. He signed a fair amount of bands. Shane's already mentioned one, Cold. The notable one that pops out in articles and to me is Stained, although I guess originally he got in some arguments over what they wanted to have as their first album art. It's not important. But what I found most interesting, and I've mentioned to you guys before, is that he was really obsessed and is obsessed with film and filmmaking. So while Limp Bizkit was on one of many a hiatus, Durst began working in independent films. He's released a few movies, actually. His directional debut was titled The Education of Charlie Banks, which starred Jesse Eisenberg. It received mixed reviews on Rotten Tomato, assigned the film a score of 46%. The consensus was unevenness and earnestness mire the otherwise sweet, surprising coming-of-age drama. His second movie had Ice Cube in it. It was called The Long Shots in 2008. That one got a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
Calling it a largely formulaic affair, rarely deviating from the inspirational sports movie playbook.
I mean, film critics also probably need to have a significant amount of work done to remove their heads from their asses.
I heartily agree.
Yeah.
But his most recent movie, it came out in 2019, and if I hadn't been burnt out after researching, I was going to watch it and give some notes. But it's called The Fanatic, and the lead role is played by John fucking Travolta. So it got a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Razzie nom.
So he's on a pretty significant downward trend.
Wow. Yes, but with positive or with negative reviews, he's getting big people.
Yeah.
Big people. like to play in these fucking roles, and I don't think that happens if you don't know what you're doing.
Like, was that a
entirely.
shot at Travolta's weight, or?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Fuck around and find out. Also, and this is where things started getting really weird for me, is like I never would think to look into this. And sorry, Michael, sorry, Courtney, and to the listeners who don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of new metal bands like Shane and I do. But Fred Durst directed almost every video that Limp Bizkit ever put out. And also he's done a lot of music videos as a director. So
Get
I
around paying somebody.
Yeah, and I wanted to include a short list at the very least because I think that Shane would find it entertaining. So he has done music videos for the following. I'm just going to rapid fire here. He's done Stained, Just Go. He did the video for Nookie for his band. He did the video for Korn, Falling Away From Me. The video for Break Stuff from his own band. Stain's video for Home. Stain's video for It's Been a While, which is pretty iconic at this point.
Okay.
He also did Puddle of Mud's Control, Blurry, and Drift and Die. He's done a video for Cold. He's done Bleed for Cold, and then also he's done the video for Stained Epiphany, and that's just a few of the videos he's done. He's even gone on. There's another modern new metal influenced band Michael's called Dead, D-E-D. He's done videos for them at this point.
No, they're not spelled that way.
Yes,
it is spelled that
way.
And actually, we have some local, not necessarily friends, but acquaintances that manage that band, which is pretty cool. So at this point, I think we're dangerously close to a two-parter, and I don't think Shane could survive that, and I am extremely burnt out on researching something I thought would be a throwaway topic. So I'm going to try and wrap this up the best that I can.
Well,
I wanted to
kudos
go...
for the extended effort thus far.
Yeah.
I know it was a joke initially, so that you've gone whole hog.
There's no fucking joke here. I think my sources list is at least over 10, and I can't count the tabs because I fell into some fucking rabbit holes here.
Hashtag 10 tabs.
I'm also not abashed that we have not picked a single lie out of this. I think that if I was able to figure out the fact from the fiction, I would be ashamed of myself.
Oh yeah, so this is why I steered course from focusing on just Fred Durst, because when I started reading everything about Limp Bizkit, it is that larger than life, stranger than fiction kind of shit. But I wanted to work on wrapping it up. Also, if you want some fun side reading, this is in the show notes, and we're not going to talk about it at all. There is an article listed of Fred Durst possibly colluding with Russia. So that is in the show notes if you want it. But the reason Lollapalooza this year grabbed me like it did is because it showed a band from a technical side at their prime. The performance, I think, was inspired and very tight. Fred as a frontman's changed, even if it's still just performative. You know, he's acknowledging everything. It's what I originally told you guys a month or a few weeks ago, of like the shit that he was saying in between songs was very woke, and no one was going to expect that Fred Durst was going to come out looking like your dad, saying to get vaccinated, fuck plastic water, and, you know, if you're going to put shit up your ass, like, at least be safe about it.
Or he looked like
an
extra from a Beastie Boys video in 1997.
Dude, yeah. He also and Shane, this might make you happy, he was very self-aware of Woodstock 99, and before they played Break Stuff, he goes, let's make this clear. This is not Woodstock 99. Fuck all that bullshit. Just want to party like it's 1999.
Oh, gosh. He did not say that last part.
He actually did, because they have a song called 1999, so it was leading into 1999.
Naturally.
Sadly, due to COVID concerns, they canceled they had a tour in August, and this is what really ruffled my feathers before Lollapalooza, is that they had announced a tour with my favorite fucking metal band currently called Spirit Box, which I had never expected. I was like, man, I hope they come through Arizona, because I don't care for Limp Bizkit, but I would pay any money to see fucking Spirit Box.
Lies.
Now
you are more excited to see Limp Bizkit.
Yes.
That was one of your lies. Bullshit.
No, how I have it written here, my favorite new, parenthetical, not new metal, like NU is how they spell new metal. Yeah. Anyway, I can't say that I'm a diehard Limp Bizkit fan, and outside of laughs, I can't say that I really do care much for Fred Durst, even though he has a fun TikTok presence nowadays that's just as self-aware as I've described. But that's a brief history on Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst.
Wow.
You made me fall down a really weird rabbit hole because in my head I just went to, since we're talking about weird bills, I saw Cold as a headliner at the Glorious Martini Ranch where you nearly got killed.
Fuck.
But the opener was Flyleaf, which is technically who I went to see because I was giddy and absolutely in love with them. Their EP just came out, so this is before the full length record came out. And the middle was Smile Empty Soul.
Oh, I know how much you love that band.
And the lead singer of that band actually got a shoe in the face because he was talking shit to somebody in the crowd, and the guy just took his shoe off and whipped it at his head.
I'll tell you what, that shit don't fly in this red state, bruh.
Oh, man, I could not have been more delighted. That was a really fun evening.
Would it make you even more delighted to know that I really don't enjoy Smile Empty Soul anymore now that I'm not a teenager?
Yeah, I
actually
never
am
liked
grown up?
them, sadly. Yeah. That's not not even sadly, but I was smiling in a very empty fashion. But I still have that poster from that show that I got all of the members of Flyleaf to sign. So it's you've hit my big nostalgia trigger here as well. But yeah, so bless Fred Durst.
Yeah, well, now that I've had some distance from Flyleaf evangelizing in between their songs, I could probably try to listen to their debut again because I liked the debut back in the time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It oddly never did, considering that I'm not a very big fan of evangelical stuff. But then, I mean, I love Anberlin and other bands like that where it's not immensely upfront. So
I saw Anberlin and I saw Flyleaf, and Flyleaf deliberately, and I don't know if I've said this to you or while you were on the show, Courtney, but when I saw Flyleaf, in the middle of their set, there was a hearty 5-minute break where she went on to be like, and here's why you should. Oh God, that's the Limp Bizkit voice. Here's why you should care about Jesus. Jesus is the reason that we're all here today. Haha. And
better.
Gorsh.
So I like their music.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first
proselytizing
experience I had. Yeah,
from.
that was, I think, 2007 or 2008.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Anberlin borders on it occasionally.
I don't recall
not that
I saw
heavy-handedly, but they do get there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Between songs.
I actually have a fun connection because you've talked about Korn a lot. I've actually met Brian Head Welch.
Oh, because he went on his I read his book.
A big old Christian boy,
I read his
and
book.
he would travel around, and I met him at one of the shows he did.
I would check out his wackadoo Christian album one more time. How was it meeting him?
It was quick because it was at an event.
Oh, okay. He still looked like a fucking freak, right?
Oh yeah, he did a whole set thing, and I think he talked a little, and yeah, it was weird.
Naturally, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
You don't live the life that he lived, and he got the life technically, and then go off the rails in the complete opposite direction and escape unscathed.
Yeah.
Would you say that maybe the choices that he made kind of made him like a freak on a leash?
he had a lot of problems because all day he dreamt about sex.
Yeah, he did.
It made him blind actually after jerking off for so long. Sadly, what are you gonna do?
Do you guys have any stabs?
No,
for the 3 lives?
I'd love to try, but I'm so far afield. I don't think I would get there.
Okay,
I'm
so
trying
the first
to remember all
lie
the numbers.
is
I can't get anything.
Oh, you're good.
Nah.
First lie is that I mentioned that Stained had opened up for Limp Bizkit before they were
That sounded
signed.
a little weird, and I had a hair twinge, but then I was like, I don't know how they met.
They had never even met each other at that point.
Okay.
The band that opened for Limp Bizkit before they were even signed was Sugar Ray.
Holy Jesus.
No.
Yeah, which I thought was, I almost just left in there so that you guys would call it bullshit, because I would never fucking think that.
Okay.
Good pivot, though. Well done.
Thank you. Starfish actually sold 8 million copies in its first week, or sold 8 million, not 13 mil. So I did do a cheap number line.
All right.
Just for Michael, because I knew he would sniff.
It's got to be
man.
expected.
I knew that bitch would sniff.
Language.
Sorry.
Don't the Durst has seeped into your soul again, my friend.
All right, motherfuckers. For this final lie. No, the MTV duet that I mentioned was not with Britney Spears. It was with Christina Aguilera.
Dang it. I was going to...
However, in 2002, Durst was tapped to write songs for Britney Spears and later said that he was in a relationship with her, which Spears denied his claims. In a 2009 interview, Fred explained that, I just guess at the time it was taboo for a guy like me to to be associated with a gal like her.
I remember I alluded to this in the John Mayer episode, and I figured you were going to hoist me on my own petard.
And also, so I didn't read into it, but I guess Eminem and Fred Durst used to be friends, and then there was a feud with the band Everlast.
Okay.
That Fred Durst, I guess, sided
Well,
with
considering
Everlast and it ruined their relationship.
I was going to say he was in House of Pain, so that would make sense considering the allegiance with Limp Bizkit. So
yeah, but there's that Eminem song, is it Without Me, where he's has that line about sit me next to Christina or Aguilera and Fred Durst.
And see who can, what was it? Who can give head first or something?
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if anyone sniffed that out, but I haven't watched that video. I need to look. That'll be the final thing for me, and then I'm never listening. Well, not never. I'm not going to listen to Limp for a very long fucking time.
don't lie to me.
Well,
I'm
very
not
long
lying.
time for him means like until tomorrow morning.
Oh
Or
yeah, I have a very
Yeah,
selective memory.
Where am I?
What year is
You there,
it?
God?
Is Nixon still president?
But yeah, that's really all I got for you. In the midst of this, though, I did have an article plop into my lap from Revolver about Slipknot and one of my favorite albums from them called Iowa. And I might have something for y'all in a month or so while I'm still working on the Illuminati bullshit
Ooh.
about the creation of a band or of an album that nearly killed all of its members. So
Huh.
And nearly
Color
killed
me
me as
intrigued.
well.
same. It is, to this day, Slipknot's Iowa is one of the most hateful records I've ever listened to in my entire life. It's like they bottled up pure just absolute hatred for the human race and released it on a record.
Mm.
And it sounded like it.
Yeah.
It fucking did. It scared the shit out of me when I first heard it as a kid. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, when Shane was 21 years old.
No, I was actually 87 at the time. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Michael, do you want to ask your dumb fucking question that you asked me?
Nah, I feel like we kind of got it out. Just like you on the bathroom walls. So
Oh, nice.
We're going to make
Nice
sure that
callback.
gets looped back into the episode
you
as
just-
often as possible so that you
Never
can't get
let
rid
the
of it.
semen
It's-
die. The Michael
it's
Clark
the
story.
it's the new thing. So
People don't
God
forget, John.
damn.
The Neo Jizz.
the new
Or the new jizz.
I like the new jizz.
He,
Oh,
she,
jizz.
me, new jizz.
The new jizz and the die.
It's our brand new bar, downtown Phoenix.
Oh, fuck me.
Come get a high colonic from us.
Uh,
I was
regret
able to
everything.
share these with Steven earlier in the week, but since you're both here, well, you're all here, sorry.
Yeah, both.
My brain didn't transition.
Hey, that's
Oh,
fucking
what?
rad.
Well,
Shane
I've-
is holding up a pin.
Yes, I'm throwing all of these glorious things. So I was not kidding. We will have some fun grab baggy things for those who come to visit us at
Yes.
Fan Fusion
Yeah.
in January of 2022, because we are officially back on our bullshit and looking
Yay.
forward to bringing the disinformation to all of you fine feathered folks that are going to be adorned in glorious costumes and looking for lies in all the wrong places, because we're going to have them for you.
Hope people are ready to see Michael's face as it usually is when we record.
Disappointed and full of
Constipated and confused. The Michael Clark story. That sounds like a
Disappointment
Richard
and
Edwards
madness.
song, actually. Constipated and
does.
confused.
It does sound
It's
like
better
a
than
Edwards
cucked by God. So
Indeed,
take it.
which is another one we're going to definitely have to get on a t-shirt. But
Just
so
have a- go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was
no,
gonna
you
say,
go
like,
ahead.
Like it's a picture of Michael, like a caricature of Michael, and he's like wearing a necklace that says "cucked by God" on it or something.
No,
like
I
a-
want Michael leading a donkey with a pregnant woman on it, and that's officially how we're presenting it from this point forward.
Hey.
Just a head down, somber,
Courtney.
cucked by God, just emblazoned on the chest.
Speaking
if that
of
gets
art,
made into a shirt before January, I will wear it at the panels.
Oh
All
my
right.
Speaking of
God.
art and speaking of Steven, Courtney, you received just some fucking fire in your inbox.
Ask and you will receive. Steven came through. I didn't even give any context. I just tweeted out, like, if anybody can draw me a duck in a sheep's costume, I'll give you money and it's for science. And he didn't ask for money.
He's like,
and
"Oh,
he
science
was
is
like,
enough."
Here's this for science, and it is the cutest thing I've
It's
ever
fucking
seen.
adorable.
Mhm.
It's one of my, outside of Shane getting chest bursted, it's my favorite bit of art.
He has really come through in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and he actually told me today that he won an art competition.
Wow.
That
believe
he's
it.
entered, and he's continuing with a couple others as well. So a very prolific and now award-winning artist that we have officially indentured to us, because I will keep him churning material out regardless.
Close.
He actually
Keep
told
him
me he was
safe.
like about to go to bed when he saw that tweet, and he's like, I think I can bust this out, and elected to stay up a little later and just churned that out in an evening, which is
He
even
doesn't-
more impressive to me.
An
'cause it's
artist never
great.
sleeps.
It made my night. I sat there and laughed probably for like 10 minutes before I did anything else with it. I was just like, I am so happy.
So don't call it a comeback. It's
He's
not
been at
Courtney, but
Jesus Christ.
sorry, I will stop making that joke. I know you hate me. Just yes.
And she's trying
There
to
we
kill
go.
herself with a pillow. There we go.
But yeah, don't call it a comeback, superfan Michael. Superfan Steven is upping the game, so I'm gonna make it a war amongst the two of you for supremacy. And superfan Jess, who created the artwork we use for this actual bloody show, is in the running as well. So we are going to profit off of all of your backs by you
Yes.
competing for the top spot. We're just going to, lash some whips around you and see what happens.
Oh, and hey, I have breaking news here because it came to my attention before we started
You
recording.
gonna break
and
stuff?
I just got another. Well, yes, and I just got another person sending me a screenshot of it. So I definitely guess that I put this energy out into the world. But guess who's been dismissive of vaccinations and has COVID as of today?
That
Wednesday,
that
the
bullshit bespeckled brothers of yours, or brother of yours?
No. Funnily enough,
Damn
Joe
it.
fucking Rogan.
Get
what?
out of here!
Yeah, Joe Rogan just
shit.
got COVID. I know that we sound really callous, like celebrating it, but if you've been
Oh, no, I'm
saying not to get
callous.
vaccinated, you can go fucking fuck
Yeah.
yourself. Fuckers.
Oh,
Beautiful.
silly sacks
How
of
many
shit.
times was that? Keep going.
Yeah, we gotta
46
break the
times.
record. Yeah.
Fuck,
I'm gonna
fuck,
show you
fuck,
that
fuck.
when we get off air.
Oh no.
You're gonna get subjected to it.
No.
There's so much that apparently we have to expose Courtney to, so this is officially her last episode. Thank you for being here,
Bye.
podcaster
Bye.
Courtney.
Yeah. Been
Good
fun.
night, sweet princess.
Hey, don't use gendered
That's
language.
Voldemort to you, bud.
I didn't call you by your name. Good night,
yeah,
sweet Voldemort.
Thank
There
you.
you go. Sorry.
Yeah,
My
say it right.
apologies.
Say it right, or don't say it at all.
Very happy to have you here, Michael Potter.
Oh no.
Actually, a pretty good Voldemort.
I don't like where this is going.
Well, you're gonna like it even less when we get done here, I'm sure. But
Instead of a wand that does a killing spell, he's just holding my cock and sprays you with cum.
Oh no! It plasters the bathroom wall behind me.
Yeah, your
Avada
face is my bathroom wall.
Oh no!
I feel like I need to call for help.
I'm in
I need an adult. Yeah.
Well, ladies and germaphobes and cum-slingers everywhere, thank you for joining us for another soul-stirring installment of musical disinformation. And we appreciate you being here with us as always. Linktree in the show notes if you want to follow us on any of the socials. We are here every marvelous Monday morning, so you can give us your devotion by sending us artwork, as we have evidenced, or you can subscribe on your preferred podcast provider app and then give us a little rate and review, because we would love to hear from you. In addition, we are going to occasionally be doing things on YouTube going forward, and that's a discussion for another time, as Conan would say. But I think that is going to wrap things up like Fred Durst's career, possibly. Who knows? We are hitting our renaissance, if you will.
Neo new metal, friends.
All the new news.
The new
New metal, guys. New
Oh,
metal.
I just nude.
In the die.
Man, this baby talk is starting to really deteriorate here. So,
Michael has news he doesn't want to tell us yet.
ladies and germaphobes, thank you all for being here. We will wish you a very fond adieu. So for the Disinformed podcast this week, I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I was Courtney.
Zippity zoop, we're out of here.